The world of Mythgard is one of mystery, magic, and modern legends. The gods no longer walk the earth. It has been nearly 1,000 years since they were last heard from or seen. In their stead, their children and creations roam freely, gathering fame and power, causing havoc, and amassing incredible wealth. Faction lines have been drawn between many rival groups. The vampires that lurk in the shadows. The biker gangs of the Valkyrie riding in the name of Odin and Valhalla. The megacorporation of Magpire doing whatever they please in places unseen. Even strange visitors from another realm. This story is told from many perspectives, traversing not only our own world, but the depths below and above, even to planes untouched by mortals. This is the world and multiverse of Mythgard, and this is your one place to learn about it from someone who has already done the research for you. You are invited to take a peek into the Lore Broker's Files. In this, our flagship episode, we will take a look at the story so far. Chapter 1 tells a harrowing tale of escape and discovery from the perspective of Percy, Queen of the Underworld, as well as following the baddest godling of them all, Odin's daughter and leader of the Valkyrie, Ingrid's Stormdaughter. The opening for Part 1, Exodus, is set in the Underworld. Percy is fed up with waiting for her boyfriend, the King of Darkness, whom she lovingly refers to as the Grand Poobah of Pretension. She has been waiting nearly 1,000 years for him to come back from some errand. She grabs her trusty bat of persuasion and puts it to the test against the gatekeeper. She is the first to leave the underworld without permission, and she has done it for one reason: to find her mother. It has been a millennia since Percy has seen the surface world. In Part 2, A Changed World, she exits the underworld on the streets of London and is immediately confronted by a vampire in search of God's blood. After a swift beating at her hands, the scruffy little bloodsucker reveals that the greater gods have all disappeared. During her journey through the cities of men in Part 3, The Guide, she stumbles across a little white wolf cub by the name of Fen. He attacks her, but ultimately claims he is missing his memories and begs to join her. She begrudgingly accepts, and they journey on with the single condition that Fen cannot try to bite her again. Part 4, Storms Gather, sees a perspective change to Ingrid's Stormdaughter, leader of the Valkyrie. Her outriders and fate speaker, Kara, have found a slain sister in an abandoned parking lot. The consensus is that the Strigoi and Court of Vampires is to blame. Ingrid says she will ride alone to find out for sure, but one of her outriders think that they should declare all-out war. Ingrid puts her in her place and takes off in search of answers. Part 5, The Blood King, finds Ingrid encroaching on the High Court of the Vampires for an impromptu meeting with Lord Ixion the Betrayer, High King of the Court. Ingrid and the Valkyrie have been selling God's blood to the vampires to make ends meet. Ingrid is sure that the vampires attacked her rider to steal the blood, rather than paying for it. Enyo, one of Ixion's high consorts, confronts Ingrid in Part 6, A Cold Day in Scaldia. After a brief scuffle with the murderer's muse, Ingrid is told that no member of the court slew her rider. Ingrid retorts that every group has its doubters and that there must be one among the vampires as well. Enyo agrees that this could be the case, and she barters for her life with this information. Part 7, Delphi, takes us back to Percy and Fen having made their way to Greece and the temple at Delphi. While gazing into the gates at Delphi, the pair are interrupted by a harpy guardian who yells, for the first of many times, "No denizen of the underworld shall profane these grounds." After the confrontation with the harpy, Fen realizes he is gaining strength and memories, though he does not relay what the extent of either are. To the east, Percy's travels have not gone unnoticed. The great Empress of Parsa has been tracking her as a source of great and ancient power. In Part 8, Imperial Persuasion, the immortal Empress dispatches one of her most faithful angels, Ariel, to Delphi to retrieve Percy. During a, shall we say, heated conversation between Percy and Ariel, they are interrupted by another harpy. Part 9, Reconciliation, has Ariel teaming up with Percy and Fen to dispatch the troublesome guardian of Delphi and joining forces in search of Percy's mother. Part 10, The Deal, cuts back to Ingrid on her mission with new information that leads her to the headquarters of Magpire Corporation in the Americas. Exposition lets us know that after the gods disappeared from the world, Magpire and their CEO, Zemek, were able to buy an entire country to continue their work. Ingrid takes her travel frustrations out on a guard while she is going about the most aggressive path for scheduling a meeting with the executives. After cracking a few skulls, we find Ingrid in a meeting with Zemek, Magpire's CEO, and his assistant Chimulus. Part 11, A New Deal, reveals that Magpire Corp is providing the god's blood to the Valkyrie to sell to the vampires as to not tarnish their company's name. Ingrid says that she can move as much product as they are willing to sell her, but Chimulus informs Ingrid that Magpire is not worried about the god's blood trade over their other projects. She activates a new security sentinel for combat test run targeting Ingrid. Ingrid is not too pleased by this and threatens Chimulus and Zemek. Their response is that there is a divine presence moving into Vedma territory, and that if Ingrid can secure this godling, she can have as much God's blood as she can stand. In Part 12, Storms at Delphi, we see that the divine presence that Ingrid has been tasked with finding is indeed Percy, whom she has tracked to Delphi. Ingrid is also confronted with the Harpy Guardians and, for lack of a better term, demolishes them. Keeping one conscious long enough to speak, the Daughter of Storms finds out where Percy and her crew are headed. While the previous interaction was taking place, we find out in Part 13, A City Unseen, what the Oracle at Delphi has shown Percy: an invisible city in a lake. The party of Percy, Fen, and now Ariel have traveled even further east to the lake from her vision. They quickly see a caravan of Volkov trucks moving into a portal of some sort and decide to follow, against Ariel's better judgment. Ariel informs Percy that the Volkov are an army of werewolves that are fiercely loyal to the witches of Vedma, and that crossing that portal into the invisible city can only lead to disaster. The moment they pass through into Vedma territory, they are confronted by a Volkov point squad. After dispatching with the dog soldiers, Percy and her crew witness a witch cornering a couple of humans in Part 14, Witch Hunt. We are shown through the course of the fight that the Vedma track all magic in their territory and claim it for their own. Percy, Fen, and Ariel come to the rescue of the male, named Sasha, after his girlfriend Ava is taken by the Vedma scouts. Part 15, Vedma Assault, finds Percy and crew surrounded by Vedma and Volkov reinforcements after Percy's power is sensed throughout the city of Kitez. As they break through the lines, Sasha is recruited to the party, and the four of them attempt to find a place to hide. Sasha informs the others that because the ground forces of the Vedma and Volkov have been ineffective, the Council of Witches will send their Sky Rangers after them next. Percy realizes that Ava, the girl that was captured, is the key to finding her mother, so the party continues hiding in the heart of Kitez to formulate a plan and retrieve her, all the while unaware that they are also being pursued by the daughter of Odin, Ingrid, at the behest of the largest corporation on the planet. This is the end of Chapter 1 and is quite the cliffhanger. Percy, Fen, Ariel, and Sasha are in a mess of trouble, and they do not even know the half of it. While they are hiding in the Vedma witch city of Kitez, they are being stalked by one of the most powerful women on the planet. To make matters worse, that woman, Ingrid, is currently tied up in the dealings with Magpire to keep the thirst of the vampire courts of Ixion sated. Percy's only allies are an angel trying to get her to go to Parsa to meet with the Empress, a pup named Fen who has proven to be nearly indestructible but will not reveal why or how, and a young man whose magical girlfriend is the only way Percy can find her lost mother. Where have the greater gods gone? Why do the Valkyrie deal with the likes of Magpie in the court of vampires? What could the immortal Empress of Parsa want with Percy? What happens to those of magical talent captured by the Vedma? All these questions and more shall be developed as the story continues to unfold in Mythgard. While we wait for Chapter 2, the Lore Broker's Files will dive deeper into the story hidden among the expanded lore of the cards in the core set. Everything from the mysterious and treacherous Circus Diavolos to the quiet studies of Dr. William Goner. We will follow the elite members of Fang Alpha 9 during Operation Vorpalhammer and find out exactly how the Empire of Parsa expanded so quickly and overwhelmingly. All of this and much, much more in the coming episodes of The Lore Broker's Files.